Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves...
Is the WNBA about to commit the biggest financial suicide in the history of modern sports? It sounds like hyperbole, but when you look at the numbers, the egos, and the money sitting on the table, it feels like we are watching a slow-motion car crash. We are witnessing the single most marketable female athlete on the planet, someone who transformed college basketball into a primetime spectacle, being treated like a burden by the very league she is saving. But the days of Caitlin Clark accepting the disrespect for the sake of growing the game might be officially over. A new player has entered the arena, and they aren't offering charter flights or a pat on the back. They are offering generational wealth that makes the WNBA salary cap look like a rounding error. And now, the loudest voice in sports media, Stephen A. Smith, has seemingly confirmed what we've all been speculating. The exit strategy is real, the money is foreign, and the fallout is going to be catastrophic. Let's start with the number that broke the internet: $76,000. That is the base salary for the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. To put that into perspective, the NBA mascot for the Denver Nuggets makes roughly $600,000 a year. The guy in the fluffy suit shooting t-shirt cannons is making nearly 10 times what Caitlin Clark is paid to be the face of women's basketball. When that figure went public, it didn't just cause outrage, it exposed a broken system. Fans were shocked, but business analysts were confused. How can a player who drives millions of dollars in ticket sales, merchandise, and TV ad revenue be capped at a salary that wouldn't even qualify for a mortgage in some of the cities she plays in? It's not just a bad contract, it's a level of disrespect that feels intentional. Enter Stephen A. Smith. Love him or hate him, Stephen A. has his finger on the pulse of the industry. And he has been screaming from the mountaintops that the WNBA is fumbling the bag. He's been the one pointing out the absurdity of the jealousy and the gatekeeping directed at Clark. But his recent commentary has shifted from criticism to a warning. He isn't just saying the WNBA is messing up, he's implying that the clock has run out. When he talks about the market for Caitlin Clark, he's no longer talking about Indiana Fever jerseys. He's talking about global disruptors. He's acknowledging that there are entities outside of the United States, specifically in the Middle East, who view sports not just as a game, but as a way to buy influence and credibility. And they have unlimited pockets. We have to look at the precedent here because this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a business model we've seen work. Look at Live Golf. The Saudi Public Investment Fund decided they wanted a piece of the PGA Tour's action. When the PGA said no, the Saudis didn't argue. They just bought the players. They offered Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson checks so large that turning them down would have been financial malpractice. They disrupted a legacy league overnight by realizing that money talks and tradition walks. Stephen A. Smith knows this. He saw it happen in golf, he's seeing it happen in boxing, and now he's confirming that women's basketball is the next target. Why wouldn't it be? For the price of one mid-tier NBA bench player, a Saudi league could buy the entire WNBA All-Star roster. But for Caitlin Clark to actually leave the WNBA, to pack her bags and take a $1 million or even $5 million deal to play in a Saudi exhibition league, there has to be a push. No one leaves a legacy league just for money, if they are happy. And this is where the story gets dark. The push isn't coming from her bank account. It's coming from the locker rooms and the hardwood of the WNBA itself. Since the moment she was drafted, the energy directed at her hasn't been "welcome to the league." It's been "wait until we get our hands on you." We've seen the hard fouls, We've seen the cheap shots that have nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with sending a message. Take a look at the Kennedy Carter incident. A blindside hip check on an inbounds play that had zero basketball merit. It was a physical assault labeled as a basketball play. And what was the reaction from the league's veterans? It wasn't condemnation. In many corners, it was applause. It was a welcome to the pros moment. But Stephen A. Smith rightly pointed out that this isn't how you treat the golden goose. You don't haze the person who is paying for the charter flights. You don't physically target the player who is the reason people are finally turning on the TV. This hostility creates the perfect storm. If you are Caitlin Clark and you are getting beaten up every night for a 5-figure salary while the veterans resent your fame, why would you stay? The jealousy narrative is something that many in the media try to dance around, but it is the elephant in the room. You have legends of the game, players who have grinded for decades for little recognition, watching a 22-year-old girl come in and get a Nike signature shoe deal before playing a single professional minute. Is it fair? Maybe not. Is it reality? Absolutely. Instead of riding her coattails to higher salaries for everyone, there seems to be a collective decision by the old guard to humble her. Diana Taurasi warned that reality is coming. Well, the reality is that Caitlin Clark is an economy unto herself. And if the environment inside the WNBA remains toxic, she has no obligation to endure it. This is the wedge that the Saudi investors are looking for. They don't just offer money, they offer respect. Let's go back to the confirmation aspect. When Stephen A. Smith discusses these overseas opportunities, he's validating the rumors that agents have been whispering about for months. We know that Ice Cube's Big 3 League already put a verified $5 million offer on the table. That was the first domino. It proved that the market value was there. The WNBA panic-spun that narrative, trying to downplay it, but the seed was planted. Clark turned it down to focus on her rookie season, to try and do things the right way. But now that we are halfway through that season, and she's seen the physical toll and the lack of protection from the league, that $5 million, or a $10 million Saudi offer, starts looking a lot different. The Saudi strategy in sports is very specific. They don't want to build from the ground up. They want to buy the finished product. They want the headlines. Imagine a Riyadh All-Star Exhibition series. They don't need a full league. They just need Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and maybe a few other stars. They play 10 games, get treated like queens, make $5 million each, and go home. No travel issues, no commercial flights, no veterans trying to take their heads off. Stephen A. Smith realizes that this model destroys the WNBA. If Clark leaves, the TV deal collapses, the attendance drops, the casual fans tune out. The leverage is entirely in her hands. It's important to understand why the salary cap is so low in the first place, because the WNBA defenders will always scream, "revenue sharing." They argue that the women get paid a percentage of revenue, and since the league isn't profitable, the salaries are low. That is the corporate answer. But the reality is, the WNBA has been subsidized by the NBA for nearly 30 years. It has been a charity project for the NBA owners. Caitlin Clark is the first legitimate chance the league has ever had to become independently profitable. She is the bridge to solvency, and instead of reinforcing that bridge, the league is letting people set it on fire. This incompetence is what makes the Saudi rumors so credible. In business, if you undervalue an asset, a competitor will buy it. It's that simple. Let's talk about the Saudi deal itself. What would it actually look like? Reports and speculation suggest it wouldn't be a traditional season. It would likely be a tournament style or a Super League concept, similar to what was proposed in European soccer. Short duration, high impact, massive payout. For Clark, this solves every problem. She gets the financial security she deserves instantly. She escapes the toxicity of the WNBA jealousies. She expands her brand globally. And, perhaps most importantly, she sends a message to the American sports establishment. Value your women or lose them. Stephen A. Smith has been highlighting the hypocrisy of the coverage as well. When NBA players chase the bag, they are called smart businessmen. When LeBron James switches teams to maximize his earnings and brand, he is a genius. But when the conversation shifts to Caitlin Clark, there is this weird expectation that she should suffer for the sisterhood. She is expected to take the low pay and the hard fouls because she needs to pay her dues. Stephen A. is calling nonsense on that. He's confirming that the era of blind loyalty is dead. If the WNBA cannot protect her physically from flagrant fouls and financially from market disparity, then they forfeit the right to keep her. The comparison to the NBA rookie scale is often brought up, but it's a false equivalency. Yes, Victor Wembanyama makes more, but he plays in a league that generates billions. However, the gap is what matters. The gap between Wembanyama's value and his pay is large, but he's still a multimillionaire instantly. The gap between Clark's value and her pay is the Grand Canyon. She is bringing in millions and leaving with thousands. That level of exploitation is unsustainable. The Saudi investors see this arbitrage opportunity. They know they can pay her 10 times what the WNBA pays and still make a profit on the attention she brings. It's a bargain for them and a fortune for her. We also have to discuss the unrivaled league, the new domestic 3-on-3 league being started by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. They are promising six-figure salaries and equity. This is a step in the right direction, and it shows that even the current players know the WNBA model is broken. But even unrivaled can't compete with sovereign wealth fund money. The Saudis can offer retire-for-life money for one season of work. Stephen A. Smith's reporting implies that while domestic alternatives are cute, the foreign threat is the nuclear option. And right now, the button is waiting to be pushed. Think about the marketing machine that Caitlin Clark is. She is safe, she is family-friendly, she is a sniper from deep, and she is competitive as hell. She is the perfect face for a rebranding effort by a nation like Saudi Arabia, looking to soften its global image through sports. This is sports washing at its finest, and Clark is the ultimate detergent. Critics will say she shouldn't take blood money. They will bring up the human rights record of Saudi Arabia, and that is a valid moral argument. But where is the morality in the WNBA? Where is the morality in a league that allows its stars to be headhunted? Where is the morality in paying professional athletes less than a manager at a fast food chain? When you back someone into a corner, they don't look at the source of the money offering them a way out. They just look for the exit sign. Stephen A. Smith has also pointed out the racial dynamics at play, which adds another layer of complexity. He has discussed how Clark's race plays into her marketability and the resentment she faces. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's part of the soup. The Great White Hope narrative has been placed on her shoulders, whether she asked for it or not. This exacerbates the tension in a predominantly black league. If Clark feels that the racial tension is making her workplace hostile, a neutral ground, an international stage where she is just a global superstar and not a symbol in an American culture war, might look very appealing. The silence from the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, has been deafening through much of this. Yes, they announced the charter flights, but that was reactionary. That was a panic move after Clark was accosted at an airport. Reactive leadership is weak leadership. Stephen A. Smith is essentially doing the commissioner's job for her, marketing the stars and calling out the problems. But he's also serving as the Grim Reaper. He is telling the league, fix this or she is gone. And the confirmation of these high-dollar offers is the final warning shot. If Caitlin Clark leaves, what happens to the fever? What happens to the TV ratings? They plummet. The casuals go away. The WNBA returns to being a niche product that loses money. The veterans who targeted her will be left playing in empty gyms again, wondering where the attention went. It is a classic case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Stephen A. Smith sees this tragedy unfolding. He sees a league that is so obsessed with fairness and seniority that they are actively driving away the only person who can make them all rich. Let's dig deeper into the shocking 1BILLION Saudi deal mentioned in the title. Why is 1BILLION shocking? In the NBA, 1 million is nothing, but in the WNBA, the Supermax is around $240,000. A 1 million offer is 4 times the maximum salary of the greatest veterans in the league. It shatters the pay scale. It breaks the union. If Clark takes 1 million, every other player will look at their $100K contract with disgust. It causes a labor revolution. This is why the WNBA is terrified. They can't afford to match it, but they can't afford to let her go. They are trapped in a prison of their own economics. And let's not forget the endorsements. Caitlin Clark makes her real money from Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm. But here is the kicker. Those brands are global. Nike sells shoes in Riyadh just as much as they sell them in Indianapolis. If she moves to a global tour, her value to Nike might actually increase. She becomes a world icon, not just a US icon. The argument that she needs the WNBA for exposure is fading. In the age of social media, she is the exposure.